Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast, the Capital GPT podcast with your host Sharon Naidu. Yeah, guys, welcome back to this lovely episode. We have an amazing guest. We have Kazen Manyonda, and basically we connected years back through social media. I came across his page and very enthusiastic. And around that time, NFTs was a big thing, and he was very into it and stuff. But I just saw something about him and I just saw his enthusiasm and he's like go-getter mindset for life. And I was like, let's connect, let's chat and that type of stuff. And I'm kind of reconnected over past couple of weeks and he's killing it, he's killing the game, and I just wanted to connect. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast, brother.
Thank you, Jared, for having me. I've been looking forward to this since the day I got that DM from you, bro. So yeah, I'm happy to hop into it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on. Just give people a rundown of who you are, what do you do, and why should people listen to you?
Okay, so fundamentally,
Yeah.
I have a new answer for this now. I'm someone I believe God has chosen to do his mission on earth. And what that has looked like in my life is at a very young age, I got introduced to business. My family has a political background, they've got a business background. So I got to understand the mechanics of how systems, institutions work. And I think coming from a household like that just gave me a fire to always want to be more in life.
Mm,
And that translated into stumbling on Gary V's content. And from there, the rest is history. I started understanding the digital world,
mm.
how to sell, build things online. And it's just been a deep rabbit hole from marketing to client acquisition and everything in between.
Yeah. So you the new age that makes money online, basically printing money online.
You could say so. You could say
Yeah.
so.
Talk us through that a bit. Like, so I think for the audience, for people that don't necessarily know like what it looks like, because a lot of people think making money online is a scam. If
Yeah.
someone's trying to teach you how to make money online, it's generally a scam. And a lot of people do get scammed. But I think I think just in instance, like in general, is that we get this, we get sidetracked. A lot of people are skeptical. Um, and what made you get into trying to make money online?
Well, I think fundamentally it was looking at what people did with their money versus what people said with their mouths, right? So I actually believe this whole thing of everybody being scared of online and thinking that it's a scam is a complete hoax. You know why? Because they spend their money on there every single day. Look at
Mm,
how big Takealot is. Look at how big Amazon has become in South Africa. Look at all of the different online services and businesses that exist online in South Africa alone. People trust online. But I guess when it comes to anything that involves inherent risk, putting yourself out there, it requires dedicated hours. Your mind is always going to try to think of some reason as to why it doesn't make sense before
yeah,
actually trying it, right?
yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's really practical. The market is growing, and within that, there's so many different niches where you're able to make money from. And I'm happy to get into them if you want to as well.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect segue into that. I think just to allow people to know what are you currently doing? What are you doing in regards to we've had a small conversation prior of you chatting and telling me about like you went through these we call this lost years of just dedication and the grind and that type of stuff, and only recently
Yeah.
seeing results. And a lot of people don't see um they don't see results for years, but eventually it's gonna have like a click, a breakthrough moment. And talk us through your breakthrough moment and what that looks like now.
Okay, so right now where I am, I have a marketing agency called COMAF. It's called Kazen's Organic Media Acquisition Framework. And basically, the story I'm about to tell you is how all of that was born. So at age 16, I stumbled upon Gary V's content. I realized that there's money online. This guy was running $100 million plus agency at the time, right? So I'm like, okay, let me teach myself drop shipping. So dropshipping is basically just selling products online, but you don't have the inventory in your own warehouse. A third party has it, right? And then they do the shipping and all of that. So during that journey, you have to learn basically how to build a website. You have to learn how to correctly pick products. You have to learn how to have the correct suppliers, basically all the mechanics that makes an online business work. And when I started that, it took me about 18 months. I was still in high school, so I could afford to do so, to first see my first rand from it, bro. So 18 months later, I'm extremely frustrated, but one thing I didn't realize at that stage is I had picked up so many skills that were just waiting for the right vehicle to monetize it. So
Yeah.
I had made a bit of money in trading, a livable wage. And then business happens, you lose supplier relationships. I'm young, I also made dumb financial decisions, I will admit. And at that point, all of it came down to zero. So that happens, and then high school ends. I'm now at the point where parents are asking, "So look, dude, you've been talking about this online thing. What are you going to do with your life?" I said, "Guys, give me a gap year or two to figure myself out." So I took those 2 years, and within those 2 years, I found myself just building on the online thing. I started freelancing for a company I won't mention, but it's based in Bryanston,
Mm.
and that's when I basically reached the end of that term, and my parents were like, "Well, look, dude, you're gonna have to go to uni because none of this has made you
Yeah.
sustainable income to this point." From there, I meet a friend of mine called Dee. She helps plug me into this digital agency in Bryanston.
Mm.
I didn't mention the name, but basically they do marketing stuff for. They're working for like MTN. They launched one of the biggest sports journalism platforms in South Africa, and I was blessed enough to be part of that whole journey. So through that, now I've got like the self starter mindset, but now I've got like the corporate edge.
Mm.
I take my ADHD and put it into a structure, right, and be like, okay, this is how you actually deliver results.
Yeah.
I think after freelancing for that company for about 3 months, the company wanted to expand, and they said, "Look, we're opening a new strategic division to the company, and we'd like you to head it." Because at that point, I was doing paid ad work for them, stuff that I'd learned during drop shipping, and like the results were just amazing, bro. Like it was crazy returns that we were producing for clients. So they wanted me to head that part of the division. Long story short, those people ended up being disingenuous. They thought they could pull one over me because I'm not from here, and they were trying to do the whole legal loophole thing. But thank God I knew my stuff at that time.
Mm.
But before that chapter ended, something interesting happened. I had basically taken. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. My story is a bit all over the place, but everything's chronological up to this point.
Yeah.
So whilst I'm freelancing for the agency, simultaneously my parents are also starting up a real estate company in Zimbabwe, right? So they've got this very technical real estate property development understanding. I've got the digital client acquisition side. So we say, okay, what about we bridge the two together? So in my parents' garage, within a span of 5 days, I told you this off cam, we're able to collect like 40,000 rands worth of payments over the phone. And how that came was from a 4.5 month long campaign we did on my father's TikTok. We got 21,500 followers, over 2 million views. And from that, we're able to extract about 3,000 real human beings onto WhatsApp groups that we basically use as our data mining platforms. And we can now send offers, we could communicate, stuff like that. So I basically took everything that we did at my parents' company and I broke it down step by step into a framework. And I went back to the agency and I said, "Hey guys, this is COMAF. This is Kazen's Organic Media Acquisition Framework. I would like to lease it to you so that you can use it for your clients. I no longer want to work on a freelance basis." And they said, "Okay, fine, we're willing." We had agreed on an amount and everything. I was like, my big break is coming. But as the story goes, those people were disingenuous. I ended up leaving that. I'm no longer working with them. But that helped me realize I have something special. I have something the market can use to monetize. So then I said, okay, I can package this offering that I was going to give to the agency to other types of businesses, like home service businesses or any business that's lead heavy. You need leads to make money. And then I pitch my service and say, hey, if you spend X amount with us, you're going to get an X return. And then, over the past, I think 6 months, that's led to a couple of retainers for me. It's led to doing consulting work for some brands. Like, for example, there's a perfume brand that I'm working with. I don't know if I can disclose, so I'm not going to say it, but basically they've grown from like 10 to 21,000 followers within a very short amount of time. Not only that, I'm also helping them with the ad side. So they're seeing like a jump from 8K to 36K within a few months. I think 2 months max. So yeah, so basically, I think now I'm at the point where I have a decent understanding of online mechanics and what triggers a sale. And I'm trying to give that to other businesses so that I can. The reason I want to do that is because it's my only excuse to get under the hood of another business and really understand their numbers so that I can make my big play in life later, which is like Alex Hormozy running multiple companies. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now, bro.
Nice, bro. I just want to say congratulations, bro. And like big ups because I think a lot of people I see come into the entrepreneur space and the content space and they come on, they try it on for a couple of months to a year and they fade away and they're like, cool, we're just gonna go on with life and get a day job. And yes, there's
Yeah.
a level of realization and your responsibilities, but it's what you do when you even have that 9 to 5, and what are you doing on the side, to actually help you build those side businesses and stuff that you could do that full time eventually. So like
Yeah.
GG's with that. Yeah, I always say this thing is that like you could have the best business, you could have the best product in the world, but if you don't have the right marketing and people don't know your product, people aren't going to buy. And that's literally what you're providing. You're providing the best marketing for these people, and they could have a brilliant product. And if people are then getting to see the product and that type of stuff, then they are getting clients, right? And that's what people most businesses need, right? It's not a social experiment. You need money to run a business. So
Yes.
yeah, I think you have a brilliant business model. I think I told you this off cam, man. Like you're gonna need a mil sales end of the year, guaranteed. Like just your work
I
ethic,
echo that amen.
yeah, your work ethic, and also like you providing value. If you wasn't providing value to the clients, then you wouldn't get more sales, right? I think what I've seen people do, especially in your type of business, is what you could do to bring in more business leads is um, asking other business that you're currently working with, be like, listen, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing well for you guys. If you could send me recommendations to or recommend me to other businesses because all of them know other businesses, right? So if you can recommend it, I'll give you a discount for in your next month or on your retainer. And that's getting you into new doors and that type of stuff. And you can do that continually. So it's a small thing, but you may only get one client that gives you a referral, but it's a referral that you never had. So it's small things like that that
True,
could
true.
change the game. And that could be your
That's
100K,
like, I'm stealing that. And it's virtually at like no cost to you.
100%.
Amazing.
100%. Um, yeah, I want to talk about also you spoke about um I don't think we spoke about on camp, but off camp we spoke about going to church and that type of stuff. And I always bring
Yes.
into faith. Faith is a very big thing, and believing in Jesus, following, being a Christian, and
Yeah.
surrendering to Christ. How do you think you going through those lost years or those years of learning, developing, and stuff? How do you think God used that in your life and to shape you as an entrepreneur, but also shape you as a man of God?
I think that's an amazing question. I think anyone who has a desire to answer God's call, or anyone who has recognized that they've been chosen for a specific mission, I have to be very blunt with you. You're set up for a very difficult life because you're ultimately supposed to go and achieve great things so that the kingdom can be advertised and the gospel can be preached. But
Mm,
it also requires you to become a certain type of person, a rare kind of person. And that means you're going to go through things. So what that looked like for me was, now I'm 21. When I started, I was 16. All of what I'm saying is very fun when you're 16 and you're 17, and then you turn 18. And now life needs to get serious, right? And you realize, oh, okay, I need something outside of myself, really now, to depend on because I can't do this. And I feel like for me, that's when Jesus really started becoming real,
mm,
when I could integrate it into my real everyday life. And I don't think I would be here without him. There were times where, just to speak about the difficulty on the journey,
mm,
after taking the gap year and now being forced to go to uni, think about my personality, bro. I'm being forced to sit in the lecture room. And even more so because the only reason is because I haven't been able to prove myself. Remember, that's
mm,
what I'm thinking at the time. So it's very painful. Not only that, as I'm working for this agency, I was making 2.5 average a month, right? And I'm staying in the north. I'm in Randburg. I'm 7 minutes away from Santon. Everything is expensive.
yeah.
Everyone is at school dripped out. And it puts you in a position where you have to start developing traits that are internal and they're not external. And those have to become your foundation. So I think to answer your question simply, bro, it was absolutely necessary. Everything I lamented over, every time I cried, every time I was in absolute dire pain and distress, now I can look back and say, I would not have the character traits that allow me to hold what God has given me now if I didn't go through that.
Mm,
And also, I think as a final note to that question, I'll say if you're the kind of person who can go through such devastating things because of your own decisions, you need to go through it.
mm,
And you'd rather go through it early Because rather mess up because you're stubborn or you're prideful or you just don't know how things work. And then you get to understand what the right way is to move and then move forward like that. But yeah, I would say it was very necessary, bro. I love it looking back on it.
100%. Yesterday I went to church and the pastor preached and he gave the story from I think it's two Chronicles 20, and he talks about King Jehoshaphat, and someone comes to him and says, "Listen, there's three different nations coming to attack us right now," and his first response was, "Let's seek the Lord, let's pray." And then he calls the
Mm,
nation fast, and he says, everyone, we're going on a fast." And then they praised and they praised the Lord. And the reason why I bring it up is because it's his response. Usually our response is there's someone coming
mm,
to attack me. I need to be ready to defend ourselves, and then we need to be ready to attack, right? But his first response was, let's turn to God first. And I think that's what God's desire is for us. It's continually for us to put him first, to desire or
yeah.
for him to be our first response, right? That whenever anything happens in our lives, good or bad, we always come to him like, God, thank you. Or God, I need you, you know? And we could if easily, I've done it multiple times where I'm like, I need to figure this out. I need to do my own thing. Like I need to come up with a plan and present this plan to God. But that's not how God works, right? Is that God wants to work with us. We call the Holy Spirit a helper, right? And God wants to be a helper in our lives. And he wants to walk the road with us and not just let's just do it our own way and then God you bless it, you know? So yeah, he's
I,
necessary. Yeah.
I think I've been learning that lesson as well, like in this season. I saw a TikTok video a long time ago where basically this one lady said, like with a relationship with God, a sweet spot is when your life is no longer interruptible by the Holy Spirit, but it's like integrated into
Mm,
the Holy Spirit. So I used to always be like, God, I'm moving. You know, if you want to let me know, you can, and I'll do what you want me to do. And it's like, that's not a surrendered life, though. That's still very, and at the root of it is pride. It's something I'm really trying to work on, bro. I'll be very honest with you. But yeah, I agree, man. I agree. God has to be in everything.
yeah. The best way I've learned to kill pride is fasting. Because what fasting does is fasting teaches you to kill your flesh and kill your fleshly reflexes, if I were to say. It's that
Mm,
like when your immediate desire is to eat, then you eat, right? But if you're fasting, you're like, no, God is my strength, right? And it's also making you realize that it's not your own strength, it's the Lord's strength. So it's a continuous reminder that you are um you need God. Like he's the one that
yeah.
gives you your next breath. Every breath you take, he's holding it, right? So he could not give us our next breath right now, and we could die. And we don't realize it day to day. But when you sit and think about it, like if God wants to take me, he could strike me down now and I could go. Like he has that free will to do so. So that just allows us to humble ourselves and that's how we can defeat pride. But it is difficult. Um, I always ask this question to everyone on the podcast because I always say my aim of the podcast is to motivate and to upskill South Africans, right? In basically starting their own business or just doing better financially. So I always ask, especially for a young person, and I think you're the perfect person. If someone's in high school, someone's trying to make money, trying to support their family, um, and they're just starting out, what advice would you give them? What business would you start? If you were starting all over again with the knowledge that you have now, how would you start?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for asking that. Like, I feel like it's in my heart. Okay. What I would say is, first of all, start by realizing two main things. The first thing is with this whole online game, everyone is not coming from the same background, and that's very important.
Yeah.
So, like, let's be practical for a second. We live in Africa. We live in South Africa. I am Zimbabwean. I have a decent understanding of the reality of Africans, right? Everyone's not coming from the same financial backgrounds, and then there's this like very disproportionate scale when it comes to the people who have opportunities and the people who don't, right? Recognize that everyone is at different starting points, and then recognize the second thing: the internet is humanity's equalizer.
Mm,
So So now, okay, in this age of AI, in this age of the internet, where basically you used to have a degree, you used to need to have a degree to have a certain skill set or knowledge base, but now you have all of that at your fingertips. What does that mean? Information has become democratized. It's now completely up to you. What are your hunger levels? How far are you willing to go down the rabbit hole? How badly do you say you actually want it? Back then, I used to try and convince people to get on it. These
Mm.
days, I no longer do. I say, according to your level of hunger, you will then figure things out. So for the hungry person, here's what I would tell them: get on the internet and try to explore, get on the internet and, according to your interests, find a skill that is monetizable within the next 2 weeks. And let me give you an example of that. Let's say, for example, I've always been artistic, I like tech, and I really want to be in corporate one day. The best thing for me to do right now is learn how to build a high converting website,
Mm.
right? A high converting landing page, for example. That will mean I'll go on YouTube, I'll learn a certain skill, they'll give me the framework, I'll produce the output, and then I'm able to put myself in front of certain different companies. And the amazing thing is today, it's not necessarily CVs that they're looking for. This is how I got a job whilst I was still in uni. They're looking for output. So I was able to say, for example, for the company I was freelancing for, this is the work that I've done, and up until this point, this is what is produced. And they say, okay, we can work with you. So the amazing thing is now, no matter where you're coming from, you're able to, based on your interests or your hunger levels, pick a skill that you can quickly learn,
Mm.
and then that will at least give you enough capital to figure things out. Life is not perfect, but if you at least aren't worrying about food and rent every single day so that you can go and chase what you want to chase, I think that's a good starting point.
Mm. Solid.
I don't know if that was specific enough, but yeah, let me know what you think.
Yeah, I think you have a very good base level of like picking a skill, learning it, going in depth. Um,
Mm.
I think. What do you think? What do you think? I think. Okay, so everyone says AI isn't the skill everyone needs to learn, and that is true. But what do you think the skill someone like just coming out of high school? What do you think the main skill they need to learn in any aspect, or the main skill that helped you be where you are now? Because you've learned a bunch of different skills, but what was the one that you're like, I wish I learned this earlier.
Perseverance.
Mm.
I've come to learn that the soft skills are far more important than the hard skills, because the hard skills will get you into the room, but the soft skills are going to keep you in the room.
Right.
So like you can learn everything technical, but let's say you've learned everything when you're amazing in an environment for a year and a half where everyone is looking down on you, and still keep a good mindset. Are you able to be in an environment where maybe you have a bad boss? Maybe they're toxic, they're not a good person, but you understand that you're not there for love, you're there for a transaction. You're there to get a certain skill set, you're there to upskill yourself.
Yeah.
So perseverance and keeping the long-term game objective, I think, yeah, is really important. Because you will feel like giving up more than once. And there will come a time where it will make sense to give up. And everybody around you will agree with you. But you have to be the one outlier who says, I have to keep going, because if you don't, you will never know what it's going to look like.
Mm. Mm. 100%. 100%. That makes a lot of sense. I think let's come back to your success story, right? Let's talk about you running your parents' real estate page and how you grew that to 21,000 followers and then getting conversions. I think that's a big skill. Talk us through how did you do that if you're willing to share that.
Yes. I'm absolutely willing to dive into the strategy. So basically, I'm willing to give you everything. You can ask me anything, bro. So here's how it worked. Um, it started with this fundamental understanding. Don't stereotype social media platforms. You need to understand that there's real human beings who spend their time on socials. So the lawyer who comes back home is also scrolling on TikTok.
Mm.
The age demographic, especially for a platform like TikTok, has increased vastly over like the past 3 years. So the first thing that we tried to do is we said, okay, we know what our market is. We're trying to sell an investment. It's a piece of land. Okay, who is our market? What is their age range? In Zimbabwe, it was around like 25 to 50, let's say. And then we asked them, okay, we asked ourselves, what social media platform are they spending the most amount of time on? It's TikTok, without a doubt. Everybody's on TikTok. And yet in the business world, they want to act as if that's not a reality. But anyway, so we picked the platform. And then once we picked the platform first, it's just about releasing an ungodly amount of content consistently. So my dad's page is still up if anybody wants to have a look. Basically, all I was doing is he's a very charismatic. It's at Apos ADM on TikTok. So APOSADM. So yeah, basically my dad is already, you'll see it yourself, is already quite enthusiastic and just charismatic. So all I had to do was give him pointers to say, this is who we're trying to market to, and this is how you provide value to those people. So what did that look like practically? It looked like these are people who want to purchase investments that mature, right? So you need to be able to educate them on what the best type of investment to get into is, why you should get into that one, the value of getting an investment underneath market price. And then basically we use that strategy, right? We said, okay, these people are very information hungry. They're a certain type of psychographic. We're going to educate them. And because they all want that education, that means nothing unless we're able to move them off platform.
Sure.
And I think this is the mistake that a lot of brands make. So we posted content consistently. And as we did that, we were able to see what was working and what wasn't. For example, a video will get 800 views. Next time we'll get 100,000. So then the one that got 100,000, we would just recopy the framework, the hook, the body, the call to action, and then try to plug it into different formats. That then obviously the numbers became more consistent in the 6 figures, 50K, 20Ks around that. So now we've got basically at this point, at the end of that, we've got like almost 22,000 people who view a human being as an authority figure. And that's very important. We haven't tried to sell anything to them. But remember, it's a business. We're trying to make money. It's a long-term strategy. So we're like, okay, they view him as an authority figure. They trust him. We're now going to move them off platform. And when we move them off platform, we continue to educate them. We didn't immediately try to sell to them because we're trying to gain their trust. And then once it's solidified that this guy absolutely knows what he's talking about, it's like, hey, all of that information, by the way, it came from somewhere. And I've got a model that I think can absolutely help you guys. And then that's basically how we introduced the business to 3,000 people that we already had on our own platform.
No, that's crazy. I think there's a lot of power in like you said, that authority figure. Like I think getting that trust, and also someone like you have to give people someone to look at as that inspiration or someone to learn from. As much as you can go into ChatGPT and learn from, I think there's just something about being taught by somebody else. That they like, you know what, there's this human interaction that we've naturally have within us. So 100%, I've seen that with my content on the TikTok page. Like people just they can learn everything that I've taught them online, right? But they've come to my page, they follow my page because you want to see it from a person. But I think we spoke about this, that you did really well in then conversion. I think a lot of people miss the aspect on conversion, is that they don't always want to be selling, or they just don't know how to then, I want to convert to sales, but I also don't want to come across too salesy, nor do I want to be like too laid back. So they don't know the middle ground, or they don't know how to convert. So advice for someone that's creating content, or someone that's in a space, whether it be selling cars, real estate, or just any any industry, what will help them convert differently if they're doing social media sales to social media?
Okay, I think that's a pretty simple one. It's so if you look at the market, right? Let's look at the car market, for example. Sometimes cars are the same model, sometimes cars are the same year, they're the same color. Bad example because I know nothing about cars, but ultimately all that's competing in the market are different offers, right? You might have the exact same car, exact same product, but it's just a different offer. So what actually converts is the offer. So if you're able to look at, for example, in my dad's example, we now have those 3,000 people in WhatsApp groups, but that doesn't mean anything if we're not able to convert them, right? Why were we able to convert them at a 6% conversion rate? It's because of the offer that we had. So how it looked like we said you're able to get an investment at below market price. You're going to get it first. And before we even sold them the land itself, we had created so much demand that we were able to create another digital product that gave them access to be able to buy the land in the first place. And this goes back to your question. If you're able to create value for someone, and value is, let me rather say it like this, if you're able to create perceived value for someone, it's not necessarily actual value. It's just how much easier or better can you make their life?
Mm.
If you're able to do that and then put it in front of their face that you can do it better, faster, or cheaper than the competition, you will most likely get the sale. And in
Mm.
our case, is we're able to do it cheaper. Your investment is going to mature faster, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity because it's a very unique project in Zimbabwe. But that's something for another day.
Mm.
So it's all about the offer. Like I can get really deep into it, but there's tons of resources online about that. If you can get your offer correct, you most likely win the customer.
Yeah, that's fire. That's fire. Uh, we're just wrapping up, and I just wanna give you a space to share something that you probably been wanting to share that I want to get off your chest, or just something that you would say to your younger self. Uh, the floor is yours.
Wow. What an ambush. Okay. I would say to anyone who has, to my younger self, and to anyone who has any sort of ambition whatsoever, um, you are up for a very difficult but rewarding road. And it's very important that I'm honest with you up front. Um, People will count you out, people will overlook you, but do not forget the reason that you started. Remember that life is long. Those that are winning today might be losing tomorrow. Those that are losing today might be winning tomorrow. And if you're able to just stick with the journey, the game rewards the people who are able to stick with it the longest. If you give up, you will never understand how far you could have taken your potential. But if you take it as far as to come to the point of failure, at least you know that you gave it your all. And that's more rewarding than anything else. So all I can say is, um, I'm not going to say whatever you do. I would recommend lean on God.
Mm.
Lean on God. You need to buckle up for the journey ahead. It's going to be exciting. It's going to change you. It's going to make you a 1% type of person. But
Mm.
that also means that you have to have 1% type of requirements. You're going to be required to sacrifice a lot. You're going to look very different to your peers, and people won't be able to understand that. But then you will bloom and also find your group of people who you belong to, who
Yeah,
you belong with, and people that will finally understand you. Your time will come as long as you do not give up.
man. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you taking your time out. And you've inspired me. You've given me different perspectives as well when it comes to internet money. Um, is there anything that you're working on where people can find you, or is there something that you want to shout out in particular?
I would say, first of all, this podcast is like my first thrust back into content, bro, after a long time. I'm feeling very fuzzy. I'm feeling very rusty. I don't have anything right now I can point people to except to say, well, listen, I've got an agency called Comaf that I think is doing really important work.
Mm.
And if anybody has a business, a brand, a platform that they think they want to explode, I think it's worth us having a conversation and seeing if it'd be a good fit to move forward together.
Mm.
But yeah, that's the only thing I can plug right now. Everything is this is my first 2026, piece
Yeah,
of content.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But shout out, man. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. We'll definitely get you back maybe end of the year, and we'll see what the Lord
Thank you
is
so much. This was great. This was great. I love catching up.
100%. Thanks so much, brother. Have a good one. Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, do the things. Peace.
Cheers, cheers.